The core functionality of our dungeon generator is basically done, so now let's add a little bit more to it. First, let's say we want those 4 rooms or those 4 rooms to be joined and basically replaced by one 2x2 room. First we need to create a new prefab. We have room 2x2, which is based on room 1x1, and instead those 4 doors, we have 4 sections which represent our 4 rooms before joining them, with 2 doors for each section. Its body is based on new sprite. Actually, it's just a copy of room 1x1, but let's go to the sprite editor. But its pivot is set to custom with values of 0.25 and 0.75. And that means its pivot is in the top left part of this sprite. That will save our lives while we are generating those rooms. Alright, now let's go to the prefabs folder and just drag and drop room 2x2 here and create prefab variant. Alright. Oh, and we should disable those rooms. Just like that. And now overwrite it. Okay. We don't need it anymore. And let's go to the code. First, in doors structure, which is inside room class, we need to add new field, public transform room part. This will be a new starting point for our raycast. So, for the room 1x1, we just use room 1x1 as a room part. At room 2x2, we will use those sectors. Because room generator is a variant of this prefab, we don't need to touch it. Alright, now we have 2 times more doors, so let's double up doors, right doors, down doors, and left doors. And I've already assigned top left to the first up, so this will be this room. Now top right is our second up, so this is this door, and so on, so on. In the box collider 2D, we need to make it bigger, so let's click this button to see it. Alright, and now it's bigger. Now in the room class, in assign all neighbors, instead of starting this ray at transform.position, we want to access its room part and get its position. Now that's our new starting point, and that's it. Now in the room generator we need a prefab and a boolean which will let us turn this feature on and off. And here we have 2 new functions. First of them is find place for 2x2, and the second of them is add 2x2 room. Let's start with this one. Here we get an array of rooms to remove, because we are replacing existing rooms by a new 2x2 room, so we need to find 4 rooms, and our start point is the first of them. Alright, so now we need to look at this function. Let's scroll up. Here we have those 4 rooms. We have starting point, a room on the right, a room down, and a room that we can find if we go down and then right. So we looped through all of those rooms in the rooms list from our generator until we find a start point. Okay, so for every room in this list, until we find a good one, we'll look for the room on the right, so we use room doors for that, and for the neighbor down. If they are null, so we already know that we can't find 4 rooms to replace, we skip this iteration and go back here. Alright, but if it's not true, we may go there and check if we are not trying to replace generator, because that would be silly if we start with a giant room. Okay, so if we are at the generator, we also skip this iteration. Now we are free to use this line. We need to find down right room. Okay, if down right room is not null, and if it's not a generator, you may set this start to rooms under I index and break this loop, this whole loop. And we are ready to return it. If we can't find any correct combination, we just return an array with null as a start point. Alright, because that's our starting value. So here in add 2x2, first we check if start is not null. If it is, we do nothing. You see, it ends here. Alright. So we are ready to generate a new room. So we instantiate room prefab 2x2 at the position of start. Then for each room in this array to remove, first we remove them from the rooms list because they will be removed, so we don't need to store them in the list. Then we set them inactive. It is a little bit later, so that's why we use those 2 lines instead of just destroying them. And if those rooms are gone, we are ready to add a new one to the list. Then enable its box collider 2D, so we know that we are not triggering any collisions there, so we enable it. And we assign the neighbors for this new room. Okay, but all of the neighbors of this new room have the old data, because they are still leading to those deleted rooms, so they have null in the leads to field. So let's fix those doors. Let's look at the doors of the new room, and if the door leads to anything, we want to reassign those neighbors. That's the easiest solution for this problem. Okay, and that's it. Let's see it in action. First, let's try it with this boolean set to false. So let's enter the play mode. And as you can see, we have this dungeon. That's the only place for our room 2x2. Alright, let's exit the play mode, set it to true, enter again. And now we replace those 4 rooms with a bigger one. And it still works with our pathfinding to this generator. Alright, now it's time for some tests. Let's save changes. Okay. And the last thing is to set it use seed to false. Save changes. And run those tests again. Please note that the last test will still use seed. Alright, now I think we have a nice looking dungeon generator. In the next and the last video of this tutorial, we are going to turn this dungeon into a hex map. See you soon!